Ford, GM, and Stellantis are struggling to sell electric vehicles, EVs. They recently warned about a possible halt in EV production, sparking different reactions. The public is pleased, but politicians pushing for EVs are confused and worried. These companies lost over $5 billion on EVs and received many complaints about safety issues like fires and fatalities. Now, Ford and GM are listening to their customers and resisting political pressure to promote EVs. The Biden administration forced them to sell EVs by threatening hefty fines. GM's CEO, Mary Barra, faces criticism for her decisions, which could harm the company and possibly lead to its closure. This situation raises questions about the future of EVs, Barra's motives, and the impact of strict EV rules on the middle class. Parallel to these developments, the European government's imposition of bans on gas cars has influenced the Biden administration's decision-making. By mirroring these bans and mandating that a significant majority of cars sold by 2032 must be electric, the administration has added to the pressure on automakers. However, the inadequacies of the current charging infrastructure and safety concerns associated with EVs have further complicated the situation, causing frustration among both consumers and car manufacturers alike. The government has issued a stark warning to car manufacturers. If consumers don't embrace electric vehicles, EVs, and continue to favor gas cars, they'll face a whopping $14 billion fine. This directive comes at a time when only 7% of cars on the road are EVs, yet President Biden aims to skyrocket this figure to 70% within a mere 8 years. For giants like GM, Stellantis, and Ford, this mandate is causing considerable anxiety. Transitioning their predominantly gas-powered fleets to electric is no small feat. It entails a monumental overhaul that could potentially drain billions from their coffers. Understandably, they're wary of the financial implications and the impact on their bottom line. While the Biden administration envisions an electric future, automakers find themselves in a conundrum. They're tasked with meeting government requirements while safeguarding their profitability. Gas cars remain their primary source of revenue, making the transition to EVs a daunting prospect. Meanwhile, the United Auto Workers Union is sounding the alarm, expressing concerns about the potential job losses stemming from this electric revolution. With both Ford and GM already cutting thousands of jobs to streamline costs, the push towards EVs is exacerbating anxieties within the industry. Stellantis CEO Carlos Tavares recently made headlines with his public remarks, adding further fuel to the ongoing debate surrounding the future of automotive manufacturing. Before delving into that, let's focus on the challenges facing Ford. Despite their pickup truck's long-standing reign as the best-selling vehicle in the US for 2 decades, the recent decision by Jim Farley to halt its production is causing a stir. Ford is grappling with significant setbacks in their EV division, with losses amounting to a staggering $4 billion. This downturn has sent shockwaves from the CEO down to the dealers, resulting in a flurry of concern and activity. Picture this. Hundreds of workers are being laid off within a week, while brand new EVs sit idle, gathering dust instead of hitting the roads. It's akin to witnessing a slow-motion car crash, a situation that's impossible to ignore. The hesitation towards EVs isn't merely a stroke of bad luck. There's a palpable resistance brewing among nearly 4,000 dealers who are signaling their concerns to the higher-ups in Washington. Despite efforts to entice buyers through price cuts, deals, and government incentives, EVs are languishing on dealership lots, failing to garner significant interest. Consider the Ford F-150 Lightning, touted as the next big thing. Dealers like Mickey Anderson initially showed enthusiasm, but their hopes were dashed when sales fell far short of expectations. Now they find themselves grappling with a surplus of inventory, resorting to steep discounts reminiscent of Black Friday deals to offload them. But the challenges don't end there. The aversion towards EVs extends beyond their price tags. Many consumers cite difficulties in finding charging stations, both at home and in public, as a major deterrent. Additionally, Ford's recall of 35,000 Mustang Mach-E EVs due to issues with overheating high-voltage battery main contactors has further soured perceptions. In essence, Ford's struggles in the EV market underscore a myriad of obstacles, ranging from consumer reluctance to technical glitches, painting a complex picture of the challenges facing the industry. Now let's zoom out and consider the broader implications of Ford's recent recalls. This isn't just a minor blip on the radar. It's a significant development following a previous recall in June 2022, where Ford attempted to address the issue with a software update. However, this solution proved inadequate, prompting the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration to intervene and initiate an investigation in August. Consequently, Ford is now undertaking a more comprehensive approach by replacing the high-voltage battery junction box for their extended-range vehicles. But that's not all. Ford has identified 17 instances where overheating high-voltage contactors have caused vehicles to lose balance and ignite, underscoring the severity of the safety concerns. Additionally, they're recalling over 1.8 million Explorer vehicles due to improperly assembled A-pillar trim clips, which pose a significant risk of detachment and potential hazards while driving. These recent actions by Ford are indicative of a larger trend. They led the pack in recalls last year and show no signs of slowing down. Just earlier this year, they recalled nearly 113,000 F-150 trucks over concerns that they could roll away unintentionally. Now, recall Stellantis CEO Carlos Tavares' recent comments expressing skepticism towards EVs. In a thought-provoking statement at the Freedom of Mobility Forum, Tavares highlighted the potential scarcity of raw materials necessary for EV production. This echoes warnings from Toyota's chairman, Akio Toyoda, issued years ago, but largely dismissed at the time. Tavares' concerns extend beyond sales figures. He fears that the middle class could bear the brunt of the EV push due to escalating prices and material shortages. This underscores the complexities and challenges inherent in transitioning to an electric future, with implications reaching beyond industry dynamics to societal and economic realms. Let's dive into some basic economics. Consider this. As essential raw materials, such as lithium and nickel, become increasingly scarce, the strain on the supply chain intensifies, driving prices even higher. Despite this looming reality, some individuals remain resistant to acknowledging the impending challenges. Take GM's CEO, Mary Barra, for instance, who made a critical error amidst this landscape, but we'll delve into that shortly. This situation carries undertones reminiscent of an international espionage thriller. With a significant portion of EV supplies originating from China and China imposing stringent export bans, we're potentially setting the stage for a market crash, with the possibility of EV prices skyrocketing. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. The ambitious endeavor to replace 1.3 billion gas-guzzling cars with sleek new EVs raises a crucial question posed by Tavares. Do we possess sufficient lithium to power all these batteries? Moreover, given that a substantial portion of our EV supplies are reliant on China, we're navigating a precarious path without a safety net. However, here's the crux. The decision to ban gas cars as observed in the EU may yield unintended consequences. Tavares voices apprehensions that such measures could potentially do more harm than good, highlighting our collective unreadiness to fully embrace EVs. And let's not overlook the turmoil within Stellantis. The fallout from the UAW strike, which concluded with workers securing a raise, has placed Stellantis in a precarious position. Their profits have taken a nosedive, and they're bracing themselves for a tumultuous 2024, rife with challenges ranging from global EV demand to stiff competition from China and geopolitical tensions. Now, onto the most alarming revelation thus far. The looming possibility of General Motors shuttering its doors, with their own CEO being the catalyst behind this potential catastrophe. Despite the tumultuous state of the EV market, Barra struck a colossal $19 billion deal with LG to procure crucial battery components such as nickel, paving the way for what they tout as America's largest cathode factory in Tennessee, slated to commence battery production by 2026. Ambitious indeed. Mary Barra is investing big bucks in electric vehicles, EVs. But turns out, not many folks are actually buying GM's EVs. Their sales plummeted by a whopping 24% in just one quarter, paling in comparison to Tesla's sales. It seems like GM's EVs are barely making a dent in the market. And if that wasn't tough enough, GM got hit hard by labor strikes, losing a staggering $800 million in earnings. Things got so dire that they were hemorrhaging about $200 million every week. Due to these dismal sales figures, GM had to pump the brakes on producing some of their EV models, like the Equinox EV, Silverado EV, and GMC Sierra EV. It's like they had to pause their own game. Even the EVs they did manage to sell were mainly the Chevy Bolt EV and EUV, which are actually being phased out. So, the outlook isn't too rosy for them. Despite the turmoil, Mary Barra is standing firm and refusing to lower prices on their electric cars. It's like she's in her own bubble, ignoring the glaring issues. And let's not forget about Cruise, GM's self-driving car project, which has been more of a headache than anything, costing GM a hefty $2.7 billion last year. But there's a glimmer of hope. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, has rolled out new rules to make cars less polluting. By 2032, they aim for new cars to be about 56% cleaner than they are now. While they're not mandating electric cars, the math suggests that about 2/3 of new cars will need to be EVs to meet these targets. Despite their big promises about electric vehicles, EVs, automakers aren't fully on board with new regulations. GM, for instance, urges the EPA to slow down, preferring to stick to the 50% EV target by 2030 set with President Biden. Nissan and Honda are also hesitant about their EV commitments. Even General Motors and Ford are stepping back, advocating for more time to improve gas cars instead of focusing solely on EVs. So, are politicians pushing people to buy EVs? Share your thoughts in the comments.